Old. He was the father of 13 children, and he was engaged, and as Deb has said, his family has been in court every day. They've asked people who are upset to just wait for the verdict. No matter what the outcome, they have repeatedly asked that any demonstrations remain peaceful, and it's good to have that sort of that calming influence from the family. As for Ray Tenzing, he's 26 years old, and he always wanted to be a police officer. He did take part in a police training program in high school, and then he went on to earn a criminal justice degree from UC. He had worked as an officer for 5 years, and he began his career in Green Hills. So a little bit of background on both Ray Tenzing and Sam DuBose as we wait for the jury to be seated and for Judge Shanahan to speak.
On page 10 it states, whether Samuel DuBose was actively resisting arrest or attempting to evade arrest by flight, what is the definition of arrest? If you can't answer, does the defendant need to say, you're under arrest, or I'm placing you under arrest, or some equivalent wording before DuBose can actively resist arrest or attempt to evade arrest by flight? Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, you have all the instructions you need to reach a verdict in this case. It would be improper for the court to elaborate further. I'm going to ask that you be returned to the jury room. All rise for the jury.
Well, that was rather anticlimactic. I think we thought we were going to have something rather bold here, but the jury apparently just had another question, and the judge said she can't answer it. It would be improper, and sent them back to do their duty. Were you able to hear it, Deb? Apparently not. We were unable to hear Deb, but the jury's leaving again, so
Absolutely,
there is the reason why the camera has panned off.
And you're right, that was very anticlimactic. But of course, whenever there is a decision, we're going to bring it to you live here on Local 12. And if you're interested in maybe seeing some of the stories that we've done on the Tenzing case, we have a special section of local12.com. You can take a look there.
Very good. Thank you.
All right, we thought the judge would have something else to say, but apparently not. Judge Megan Shanahan has walked back into her chambers. And the attorney, Stu Matthews, sitting there with Ray Tenzing. And it appears that he's going to be, no, maybe not.
So let's get a little clarity on what's going on, because Tenzing's staying in the courtroom, as is the prosecution and defense teams. They seem to be chatting at the moment. We're going to check in with Brad and Hal Aaronstein to get a clue as to what might be going on. Brad?
Okay, we'd love to have a clue as to what's going on, Hal. The jury comes back in with a question, and Judge Shanahan says she can't answer that question for them, and sends them back out. What does it mean?
Well, it means they're still deliberating. If they had a question about something that pertained to the instructions, maybe she felt that the instructions answered the question. They've given them testimony which they've asked for, and evidently they didn't ask for more testimony. So I have no idea what the question could have been.
How unusual is this?
It's not uncommon for juries to ask questions that can't be answered. Typically what will happen is you'll go back in chambers, which is what it sounded like they did here. The question will be written on a piece of paper. Judge will present it to both sides, and then you'll decide, can I answer that question or can't I answer that question? It may have been a question that pertained to evidence that wasn't admitted into the trial, and for that reason she may not have been able to provide them with an answer.
Does this provide any hope that they are closer to a verdict because they have come back, let's say 5 to almost 6 hours later with another question?
I think it indicates they're still deliberating, and they're still talking, and they're still arguing their respective positions.
Does that give you indication of movement if there's a question come back?
Good question. I don't know. I can't answer that. I wish I could give you a better answer.
So once again, Hal can't answer the question either, so we have continued to stay on the mode. Rob, Cammie, we'll send it back to you, and as we get more information, we'll provide it.
Maybe Hal can give us a little clarification, Brad, as to why everybody's still in the courtroom. The judge has left the bench, and both sides are still at their respective tables. Any clue as to what might be going on at the moment? The jury has left the room as well.
I will ask Hal. The jury has left the room. This is what Rob is asking as they are watching the courtroom camera. The jury has left the room. The judge has left the room. and yet both attorneys and Ray Tenzing remain in the courtroom. Why?
Well, it's possible that they could have asked a caretaking question, and maybe they're very close to a verdict, and maybe the judges asked that all the parties remain, or possibly...
Fill us in on a caretaking question.
It could have been something about how to fill out the jury question or the jury forms, the verdicts. That's a possibility. The other possibility is that maybe the judge has artificially said you've got until 6 o'clock, and if you can't get a verdict by 6 o'clock, we're going to send you home for the day, or we're going to declare a mistrial. Please hang around so we don't have to get everybody gathered and wait 30 minutes for everybody to arrive again.
All right. Well, that's your insight, and hopefully that's the case, that because they remain in the courtroom, something still may happen this evening.